because their kids and their grandkids are not going to have the opportunities that you have had. I want to turn to some of the sentencing decisions, and particularly your decision to grant criminal defendants compassionate release. And you've have an unmistakable pattern of releasing criminals with dangerous backgrounds into the community, and the COVID-19 pandemic seemed to exacerbate the trend. To name just a few examples, you use the COVID-19 pandemic as justification to release a fentanyl drug dealer, a bank robber addicted to heroin, a convict who murdered a U.S. Marshal back on the streets. And at a time when violent crimes, including homicide, are spiking all across the country, and we're facing an opioid epidemic driven in large part by the trafficking of fentanyl across our border, how can you stand by your decision that these offenders do not pose a danger to the community?
Thank you, Senator, for allowing me to answer this question. The statutes that govern judges and that allow for compassionate release are policy determinations that Congress has made to permit individuals who are in various circumstances and various stages in the system to seek release. People who are detained after their final sentencing can seek something called compassionate release. People who are detained between when they've been convicted and when they're sentenced.
Not to cut you off, but time's going to run out. We do have, you know, this is a question that I have been asked so much. People, here's a stack. These are the ones that you sought for compassionate release. There were 1,561 that were detained in D.C. Department of Corrections. And your statement, and this was in the opinion that you issued, it was U.S. versus Wiggins, you stated, and I'm going to quote you, each and every criminal defendant in the D.C. Department of Corrections custody should be released because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And in that same opinion, you lamented the fact that you as a federal judge were limited in your ability to order the universal release of criminals back onto the streets. And I am shocked that that would have been your position, because people are so, they are just really concerned about crime in the streets. So do you stand by your position that it would have been the right thing to do to release all of those prisoners back onto the streets?
Senator, that was not my position. In that opinion, United States versus Wiggins, I started off by explaining that given the compassionate release system and the COVID-19 pandemic, it would seem as though that was an extraordinary and compelling circumstance. But 2 sentences later, I say, we can't release everyone. There are people who are too dangerous to release. And so even in Wiggins, I decided that he had to remain incarcerated, notwithstanding his compassionate release motion. So the point, the sentence that I have there, I did say, but I said it to lead up to my statement, which was the actual ruling, in which I said, we are not releasing everybody. We're not opening the jails.
And it was that when you made that statement, you were talking about decisions regarding sentencing.
My colleagues promised a fair and respectful hearing. Most, including my Republican colleague, Senator Grassley, followed that admonition. He always does. But there were a few obvious glaring exceptions, and I'm sorry for that. But your patience, dignity, and grace in the face of what was frankly some offensive treatment is a real testament to your judicial temperament. Meeting is right now.